Hey and welcome back, I'm Jeff, this is Stuff I Made, and in today's video I've got some more upgrades for your table saw fence system. So whether you've got the Bow Xtender fence, a DIY one like in my last video, or you've made a wooden auxiliary fence, well, these attachments will give you tool storage and organisation at your table saw for things like a tape measure, a digital angle gauge, a pencil, a ruler, etc. Like a dust extraction fob. Everything you need at the table saw with somewhere to put it and organise it. So I did say this in my last video, but if you don't have a 3D printer, don't worry. You can still get hold of the files and you can still get them 3D printed, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So what is this? Well, let's start with that. This is based on a system called Gridifinity, and it's, well, what Gridifinity is in the 3D printing world, is a system of 42mm grids, and you can create a combination of different grid sizes and put magnets in them if you want. And what people are doing is printing out just the grids, so patterns like that, and they're lining the bottoms of drawers and sustainers, and then they're assembling lots of different size trays to put into the drawer. So when they open the drawer, the tray stays still, and it helps them organize small parts, calipers, pliers, screwdrivers, all sorts of things. And then if they put it in a sustainer and the tray's deep enough, everything stays in there and doesn't shake about or move. Well, I thought by giving you a system like this, specifically for your table saw fence, it will give you the functionality of being able to use the thousands of models that are already out there on things like printables.com for organization, for holding tape measures or digital angle gauges, and printing out little trays or big trays to organize your tools like this at the table saw. Now you can create your own ones, but I've created a custom one here, and this holds a whole bunch of different things at the table saw. If you watched my last video, you'd have seen something similar, but not in Gridifinity, not with the pattern on the back. You can see on the bottom there, there's holes for little magnets. We'll cover that in a bit. Now, I've got a whole bunch of different sizes of these. We'll get into all the different options. And I've got a twist on it later on with some angled trays and what they're for. Let's fit this to the fence and see how it works. Okay, so to attach this to the fence, you've got two little bolts with square nuts on the end. They literally just drop into the side there, like this. Slide along where you want. You can put the clamp back in, but just so you can see, I'll leave the clamp out. So this system could be mounted at the tool wall, giving you lots of easy to rearrange flexible storage. I've just cut down short IKEA bolts, and I had ground them off because I was using that inside the slot, like a T-bolt. But you don't have to. You can, if you've got the square nuts, the thin square nuts, that can go inside the slot and then it won't rotate. So this is M6 or 1/4 inch, and then a square nut. I've got links in the description. If you've got just T-bolts, you can just cut them down and use the T-bolt in the slot that way around and have the nut on the outside here. So the tray itself, let's just look at an example tray. You can, like I said, you can create your own trays. You don't need to go to 3D model. You can download them off Printables, but if you go onto GridfinityGenerator.com, which is where I created trays like this, which has got 2 compartments, or a lower tray with 3 compartments, depending on what you want to put in here. And they can stack on top of each other, or you can put lids on top. I'll just show you this tray, which is, let's put this way around, which is for my digital angle finder, a tape measure, a ruler, a pencil, a fob for starting the dust extraction. The bottom of the trays have magnet holes, and they're printed with supports, and they just pop out with a little screwdriver. In fact, let me just pop one out for you. You just dig your little screwdriver in there, and it pops out like that. And then you would put your magnet in there. Now your magnets, these are all sized at 8mm by 2mm, and they just push into there. You can put a little bit of super glue or CA glue, and boom, and swipe it off. Now, obviously, you don't need a magnet in every hole, and depending on what you're doing with this, you can just put a couple, 4 magnets in the corners, hold your tray down, and you're away. So you can have different size trays together. So I've got one here with a little scoop out. So if you want to put M&Ms or Smarties at the table saw, you can sit there like that. So you can have a combination of trays or just one tray. So what's neat about the system is you don't just have to have the 2x5 grid. You can use a 2x4, a smaller one again, 2x3, 2x2 or 2x1. And so you can have multiple trays if you just want one over here. If you're getting some of the other attachments like the push stick attachment I showed in my last video, or the featherboard mounts, you might just have space for one. In the kit, you get all of these, as well as the 2x. I'm calling these the 2x, and I'm calling this set the 1x. So it's 1 deep by X amount. You can get these in 1x1, 1x2, up to 1x5. And this is the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For thin trays for things like a pencil or your digital angle thing, and that's maybe all you want there. So that's useful, and that adds to what you might want to use on a tool wall as well. Then with each set of the 2x and the 1x, you get these ones, which are, you can put at any distance. So if you want to then just print just the flat tray bit here and attach a piece of wood to it, you can create something custom and set your distance at whatever you want. Or if you've got a bigger 3D printer and you want to print out bigger trays, longer trays, because you've got the printer, or you print out and glue together 2 trays, then you could extend this out. So earlier in the video, I mentioned if you don't have a 3D printer, then I've got you covered. Well, today's video sponsor is PCBWay. They're a company who are known for the manufacture of PCB circuit boards, but also they do CNC, SLA, SLS, FDM 3D printing services, and a few others. Definitely go over to PCBWay.com to check them out. But how this relates to you is that if you get hold of my files, you can take them over to PCBWay.com, upload them, choose your settings, choose what color filament that you want, and you get an instant quote. If you've got technical questions, they've got 24/7 support, and you can just have a chat with someone right there. And they've got fast turnaround, so you'll get them very, very quickly. This slot here is so that the height can vary. So I don't know the height of your table saw fence, so I've given you some variance in how they mount, depending on how high up you want them mounted, or if you want them against your fence. I did consider having the tracks on the back where they slot in, a bit like in my last video, but I think here it's more important that you've got the variability between the height of this and the fence than a fixed height. And I did consider it just clipping onto the top, all sorts of things, but this is the solution I came up with, so that's what you've got. Let me show you the next thing. So if you just imagine this tray screwed to the tool wall, and I've 3D printed this tray here. Not that you're going to have this at the table saw, very handy on a tool wall for sure. So next up I've got a series of trays, and these come in a 2x4 and a 2x3. Some have a cutout here, and I'll show you why that is, and some have a pencil slot, and some have a pencil slot and a cutout. So there's a whole combination of them, and you'll get to see those on the website. But the reason for that angle is that they would go towards the front here potentially, or somewhere closer to the front. Now this bit's slightly thicker, so these bolts are 20mm long, not 12mm long, but effectively the same thing. Now I'm just using IKEA bolts cut down, as I mentioned before, but I have put links to all of the bolts and hardware that you could possibly need. You print this tray out, this is in the pack, and then somewhere to put your phone at the table saw. And if you've got a cut list, you could be working through your cut list on your phone, or just somewhere to keep it safe out of your pocket so you don't damage it, or off of the bench. You might not want to do that. So there's some other options. And the other option is a notepad. And if you're using the notepad with this tray, you'd have your pencil right there next to the notepad as well. So this flat tray is also included in the kit. You get a 2x4 and a 2x3 flat tray, depending on the size ones of these you've got. And then I've just double-sided taped the notepad to the tray. In the last video I showed you a calculator tray dedicated to a small calculator, which is quite handy to have there. So you just have to pick and choose which ones work with your system best of all, and I think the angle tray is a good option. Yep, so that's the Gridifinity system for your table saw fence and for your tool wall. And if you head over to the website stuffimade.co.uk, you'll see all the different packs and combinations, and in fact there's a one pack gets all of the stuff from the last video and from this video all in one pack. Yeah, you can drop me a comment over on the website, or ask me questions, or ask for future enhancements or the like, or you can do it in the comments on this video. But just let me know what you thought of the system, whether you'll use it at a table saw fence or you'll use it at your tool wall. Go on to printables.com, look at the vast amount of trays that exist, go on to Gridifinity generator and look at how easy it is to model your own model. I think you'll find this quite useful. Hope you enjoy it. Take care. See you in the next video.